November 2012, Emeka Emuwa became the group CEO of Union Bank. His mandate was crystal clear: change the fortunes of the bank and put it back on the path of profitability. 8 years later, Union Bank now stands among one of the strongest and most respected financial institutions in Nigeria. How did he do it? That's what we're here to find out on this CNBC Africa Legacy Series. I'm Esther Awuni. Thank you for joining me. It's been an eventful 8 years at the helm of affairs here in Union Bank. But I'd like us to take a few steps down memory lane and talk to us about, from that moment when it was settled, you were going to have to turn the fortunes of this bank around. What was the state? First of all, let's start from there. The state of affairs when you took over.
What we found was decay. This was a bank that had a very storied history, but over many, many years had been allowed to run down. Limited investment in people, in infrastructure, in systems, and therefore it became a bank that frankly was not able to meet its customer needs. So as a customer, you came in, you wanted something, the bank couldn't do it. That's what needed to be fixed.
And then came, of course, that strategy. Not just any kind of strategy, a strategy needed to revitalize, if you will, this massive, this huge brand.
We considered a few things. One is, what were those things that had been underinvested? So people, number one thing is people, right? It doesn't matter how many people you have, right? If you're not developing them, if you're not training them, if you're not keeping them aligned with what is happening in the world, you're never going to be able to compete effectively. So first thing was people. We said we have to, shall I say, upscale, upgrade people. And part of that meant obviously changing a lot of people, right? The systems, right? Our technology was frankly not functional. So when I talk about customers not being able to get their basic needs met, it was because all these things were there. So it was, the fundamental plan was, with a view to the future, leveraging the existing brand. How would we get from what we felt the brand could and should be to bridge the gap between that and its present state? Like I said, people, systems, processes, technology, those were the things that we felt, okay, we rebuild these, we build the basic infrastructure that, and when I say infrastructure, I don't mean infrastructure like bricks and mortar, no, just infrastructure is basically the platform, right, that you can serve the customer with, and therefore start getting your customers back. Because we had a lot of customers, but they took a walk.
Having a good strategy was not enough. Finding the right team would help set the plan in motion. Some members of the team reflect on the transformation process and what it took for change to happen.
It's hard to start with the people, because you can't transform without transformers. We needed people with a different mindset, people who could actually take work and get it done without basically depending on a lot of people. We didn't have too many people who had that mindset. All right, so we need independent thinkers, people who could brainstorm, come up with new ideas, and execute also, because the execution was at the heart of transformation. It was a lot of work. My history of transformation had pockets of an organization at the time that you transformed. For Union Bank, it was the whole thing, right? The people, the bank structure, the physical infrastructure, the technology, communications unit, the business unit, everything had to be changed.
Transformation wasn't paint, a new coat of paint. It was really breaking down the branch itself, rethinking how we wanted, from a culture perspective, how we wanted the branch personnel and teams to work with customers. We didn't want, for example, a branch manager sitting upstairs. When customers came in, you were supposed to be the face of the branch and know how to troubleshoot. So we had to essentially your physical environment is supposed to reflect the culture and how you want to be seen.
So we needed to create a workforce that was dynamic, mobile, right, young. And that's what we had when we took off after about 2 years of running those transformation programs. And we also had a number of employees who at some point were going to be leaving us. And one of the things that Emeka ran very well with us was that program of having our employees leave very well. It was very good and maybe very underestimated in this industry, but one of the friendliest I've seen.
A lot of the feedback that we got was that it was just too difficult to deal with us as a bank back then, right? Everything seemed cumbersome. So we came out and the new brand showed agility, movement, strength, a more vibrant color, but that was still steeped sort of in the tradition of the old. It's a brand that you could recognize. We didn't want to become totally something that we were not. A lot of times when people go through a fundamental change or disruption like an institution like this, there's a tendency to leave the past behind and want to just be something new. But we felt there were elements of the past that were really, really strong for the brand. We wanted to keep that sort of connection to the past, and so that set the baseline for us in terms of how we then wanted to present ourselves to the public with the rebrand.
Changing old ways and systems was not going to be an easy task.
But when you have thousands of people in a bank and you have certain behaviors that have existed for a while, changing them not always very easy. We brought in new people, which in itself presented another challenge. So yes, you would get people who are modern, energetic. However, when you're trying to run very fast, you're bringing in people from different organizations, right? But you're also trying to build your own culture. So when you have people from different backgrounds, that was one challenge that we also had to deal with. Define our own culture, that was one, but then build it. And so you're trying to, shall I say, mold a fairly disparate group. That's why at the leadership level, it was important to have pretty strong characters who would support that vision.
Now, obviously, a lot was riding on this plan, this strategy succeeding. You were dealing with shareholders. You had a regulator that was also looking to build a stronger financial system.
Yes.
And you had the public perception too. You were dealing both with external and internal factors, as it were.
Yeah.
So for you, at what point, what was that like, knowing that, look, there was a lot riding on, we had to succeed?
The option did not exist. Right? Good thing is we had all the support we needed. And when I say we had all the support we needed, whether it's from the board, right? Yes, we've got a fantastic board, very demanding, very supportive, right? And when I say demanding, demanding of good quality. Biggest issue to deal with, because that's not something you can deal with overnight, is the perception issue, right? And that takes you, how do you deal with perception? In my own view, the only way you can deal with perception is just continuously and consistently show that you are not what people think. And the reason why people came up with that perception was, like I said, this was a bank that unfortunately over time had run down. So you, as a customer, you could not get the service you wanted. So that's what drove people. If you come to the bank, you can't get basic things done, then you have a view on that bank. So what we focused on was rebuilding, right? Making sure that as far as the customers were concerned, that was our singular focus. Whatever we built was in order to be able to serve the customers better and to serve them consistently. For us, it was being able to provide consistent quality service.
I know, no doubt, you had so many hurdles to cross. But for you, which of those hurdles, challenges stood out for you?
The biggest one was actually what we didn't know, which is anything that we knew that was an issue or a problem, for us that was fine. It's important to know what the issues were. What we're most concerned about was the things that we did not know. That is, there might be things going on in the organization that you simply don't know. That's what we were most concerned about. And over a period of time, a couple of them popped up because you had no clue that this thing was going on. And fine, by the time you get to know, right, you deal with it. But in a couple of cases, they just shoot up. So the biggest concern was, is there more?
I imagine you had your fair share of late nights and sleepless nights. But at what point could you honestly and confidently say to yourself that, okay, I can rest easy? We are sort of out of the woods, and then we can proceed, not, of course, rest on our oars or anything, but just proceed at a rate that allows me to sleep well at night?
Well, my own personal philosophy is very simple. I like to sleep well.
Okay.
Right? If it's 2 hours, let me just sleep well. I would say probably when we by 2015, I guess. I would say by 2015, yes. I say by 2015, because you talk about perception, you talk about the brand. There was a lot of conversation, even from external parties, that your brand, you should do something about it. And I think there was even an attempt to sort of relaunch the brand in the early days, which I put a hold on. Because I said, what I see here, we cannot deliver what the customer is looking for. So let us spend time to build what the customers need. And once you do that, then you can say, okay, fine, this is the new me. Because the customer, in this particular case, because of what we had, our history, because when you talk about the perception, right, you can go and tell a story to the customer and say, look, I've changed. I'm a changed person. We're a changed bank. Come and test us. Come and try us. And by and large, they'll give you a shot, right? Because there's a certain fondness for the bank. But if they come and give you a try, and they say, and it doesn't work, they say, you haven't changed, and they will not give you an opportunity again. So for me, it was more important to be ready for that, to basically bridge the gap between the customer expectation and our ability to deliver on the brand promise. So I think by the time we launched in I think it was end of 2015, I felt comfortable that yes, it didn't mean that things would be perfect, but we're in a position where if we said we're going to do A, we would be able to do A consistently over time.